Silence feels peaceful at first. No noise, no voices, no distractions, just stillness around you. It feels like your mind finally has space to breathe, but after a while, something strange begins to happen. The silence does not stay empty. Your brain starts to fill it. At first, it is subtle, a faint hum in the background, a soft ringing that comes and goes. You are not even sure if it is real. You pause and listen more carefully. Then it happens again. A sound that feels slightly different, something almost like a whisper. Not clear enough to understand, but familiar enough to notice. And the longer you stay in silence, the more your brain begins to search. Because your brain is not built for silence. It is built for patterns. It constantly scans the environment for meaning. Movement, sound, danger, signals. Even when nothing is happening, your brain expects something to happen next. So when the outside world becomes quiet, your brain turns inward. It starts listening to itself. Inside your brain, there is always activity. Neurons are firing. Electrical signals are moving. Tiny random noise exists in your nervous system all the time. Under normal conditions, your brain filters most of it out. But silence changes that. With no external sound to focus on, your brain becomes more sensitive. The filter weakens. Signals that were once ignored now become noticeable. Small internal noise begins to feel louder. And this is where something unsettling begins. Your brain starts to organize the noise. A random signal becomes a tone. A tone becomes a pattern. A pattern begins to feel like something meaningful, something almost familiar, something that almost sounds like a voice. Not because someone is speaking, but because your brain is trying to complete the pattern. This is how your brain works. It prefers meaning over randomness. It would rather guess wrong than miss something important. It is constantly trying to turn chaos into something understandable. This instinct comes from survival. Thousands of years ago, hearing something in the dark could mean danger. A predator, a threat, something approaching. It was safer to assume something was there than to ignore it. So your brain evolved to detect signals even when they are weak, even when they are not real. Silence removes the outside world. And when that happens, your brain begins to amplify what is inside. This is why people in extremely quiet environments often report hearing things that are not there. A voice calling their name. Footsteps behind them. A whisper in the distance. It feels real because your brain processes it the same way it processes real sound. And once you notice it, it becomes stronger. Because attention amplifies perception. The more you listen, the more your brain tries to find something. The more it searches, the more patterns it creates. It becomes a loop. Silence creates attention. Attention creates patterns. Patterns begin to feel real. And slowly your brain starts to convince you that something is there. But hearing is only the beginning, because silence does not just affect sound. It begins to change how you experience everything. As silence continues, your brain becomes more alert. Small sensations feel stronger. Your heartbeat feels louder. Your breathing becomes heavier. Even the space around you starts to feel different. You may begin to feel like someone is nearby. Not because you see them, not because you hear them clearly, but because your brain is trying to explain the lack of information. And the easiest explanation is presence. This is where fear begins to grow. Humans are not comfortable with uncertainty. When the brain cannot explain something, it fills the gap with possibilities. And those possibilities often lean toward danger. A shadow becomes a figure. A sound becomes a step. Silence becomes something watching you. This is not simple imagination, it is prediction. Your brain is constantly predicting what could be there. In normal conditions, your senses correct those predictions, but in silence, there is nothing to correct them. So your thoughts start to feel real. This is why complete silence can feel overwhelming. In extreme cases, silence can even lead to hallucinations. Studies have shown that when people are placed in environments with almost no sound, their brains begin to create their own input. At first, everything feels calm. Then slowly, something changes. People begin to hear music, voices, fragments of conversations, sounds that do not exist. Not because they are losing control, but because the brain cannot tolerate emptiness. It needs stimulation. It needs patterns. It needs something to process. And if the outside world does not provide it, the brain will generate it internally. This reveals something deeply unsettling. Your brain does not simply receive reality. It creates it. What you hear is not just sound, it is interpretation. It is meaning built from signals. And when signals are missing, your brain fills in the gaps. That means reality is not as stable as it feels. It depends on input. It depends on attention. It depends on your brain. And silence removes one of the strongest inputs you rely on: sound. Without sound, your connection to the outside world weakens. And as that connection fades, your internal world becomes louder. Your thoughts become sharper. Your memories become more active. Your imagination becomes stronger. And sometimes your fears become louder than anything else. This is why silence can feel peaceful at first, but unsettling over time. At first, it gives you space. Then it gives your brain control. And your brain is not designed to stay quiet. It is designed to think, to predict, to imagine, to create. And in silence, there is nothing to compete with it. So it takes over. This leads to one final question. If your brain can create voices in silence, what else is it creating without you noticing? How much of what you experience is coming from the outside world? And how much is being built inside your mind? Because silence does not create something new. It reveals what has always been there, a brain that is constantly active, constantly searching, constantly building reality. Even when there is nothing there, and that is the scariest part. You do not need sound to hear something. Your brain is already capable of creating it.